Were you edging or were you gooning?
I don't know.
Dribble these cheeks.
If you get the opportunity, you should kill yourself.
Well, that's it. This was the final DCEU movie before the reboot happens under James Gunn. And man, what a way to go out. Now, obviously this wasn't meant to be the conclusion to the DCEU, so it's not going to have like a triumphant conclusion. The movie just kind of plays out and ends just as a normal solo Aquaman movie. Nothing special or grandiose happens. And really, it's the last movie in the universe because it was just the last one to finish up development. Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman were the final 4 movies. And yeah, like I said, what a way to go. And no one really seems to care, honestly. Judging from the box office, not many people saw it, at least compared to the first one. But it still performed better than the last 3 DC movies, so I guess that's a plus. Gee, maybe telling everyone a year in advance that basically all these movies don't matter because it's getting rebooted anyway wasn't the smartest decision. Did no one think that that would affect the fans' investment in these projects? Maybe it's me, maybe I'm the crazy one.
I'm the Joker, baby!
Oh yeah, this video is supposed to be like a review of Aquaman, I think. Well, I guess this is more so a rant or ramble because this movie was pretty disappointing for me. This was literally one of the only DC movies I was actually looking forward to. And that's due mainly to the fact that I really liked the first one. Easily one of the best DCEU movies. And I'm also a huge fan of the director, James Gunn. So I figured, hell, if this movie is at least fun as the first, then I'll be satisfied. But clearly that's not the case at all. I felt myself getting more and more depressed as the movie went on. And by the end, I was just checked out. It was a lackluster experience. Not because I was viewing it as the end of the DCEU, because I wasn't doing that. No, this was just a lackluster experience as a sequel to one of the most fun and entertaining DC movies in recent memory, and just as a movie in general. Now, I did hear there were several behind the scene issues. Let's see, you had the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial going on, so there were rumors about trying to edit her out of the movie and reshoots happening. Then there was that scene with Ben Affleck's Batman that got leaked, but that's actually not in the movie. You also got the fact that this was in production while Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, as well as when they were shifting focus to the new James Gunn-led universe. Just so much was happening while this film was being made. I'm amazed that it got released at all, honestly. But regardless, this video isn't going to be like a traditional review for me. I'm more so just me bitching while sprinkling in some compliments here and there. And I don't really feel like telling you what the movie is about, so go ahead and read this.
Turn the freaking frog game. Serious crap.
So now where to begin? I guess I'll start with the obvious stuff. This movie looks pretty bad. There are times where the CGI and effects look kind of on par with the first film, but at other times it just looks pretty damn bad. There's no other way to put it. It's not a very well polished looking movie. Plain and simple. I mean, we saw that from the trailer, but we were kind of hoping they would polish it before it came out, but clearly that didn't happen. Now, the first movie had its moments where it didn't look the best, but this movie has like whole sections that just look pretty subpar. And while I'm talking about the visuals, I want to mention the cinematography. The camera work is just okay. There aren't many creative sequences or set pieces or truly awesome shots like there were in the first one. And that was a real bummer, because I figured that James Wan's keen eye for visuals and creative camera work could easily elevate the movie, so that it could at least be fun to watch. And there are a few times where I'm like, yeah, that's not bad. And there are a few long one takes, but it's never as creative or interesting as anything from the first one. And the same goes for the action. There are moments of some decent action, but it's not as badass or well put together as anything from the first film. The fights with Black Manta are okay, but nothing great. It just feels underwhelming, and the fight choreography itself just isn't as good. The set pieces just aren't as creative, and the camera work is just okay. It doesn't have that creative flair like I was expecting. It's not bad action, really, just underwhelming for me personally. But something that really bugged the shit out of me was the humor. So you remember years ago when I talked about the first Aquaman, I said I didn't like the quippy jokes or attempts at humor because I didn't find them funny. They were very cringe and awkward. Well, you get more of that here, but it's turned up to 11. Now, Aquaman 1 was a pretty goofy movie, but what made it so much fun is that it leaned into the sillier aspects of the Aquaman lore and just embraced it. It played a lot of it pretty straight, which made it fun to watch. It didn't try to rely too much on banter or quips or having characters vocally poke fun at absurd things. Here, it's actually the opposite, and it's mostly annoying. I swear, I didn't crack a smile like once. It was just so damn awkward, and the movie is riddled with it. I mean, I guess I will say that there are some pretty cool moments between Patrick Wilson's character Orm and Aquaman. You got Orm, the more straight man, and you got the goofier Jason Momoa just doing his thing. So at times it feels kind of like a buddy cop adventure movie or something, and it's a little entertaining to watch, but it doesn't save the movie. Okay, let's talk about Black Manta. So his motive is supposed to be the driving force of the movie. You know, he wants revenge on Aquaman for not saving his father, and so he blames Aquaman for his dad's death. So really it's just the same motivation from the first movie, except, you know, he's supposed to be center stage. He's supposed to be the main guy this time. But then it gets to the point where his motive starts to matter less and less towards the end, and instead it's the ruler of the Lost Kingdom who becomes the real threat. I'm too lazy to look up his name, but this ancient evil wants revenge on King Atlan's bloodline and wants to destroy the world, of course. And so he's channeling his power through his trident that Manta is using. And then finally towards the end, this ancient evil gets awakened, and Manta is literally tossed aside so that they can fight this new fucking Melvin for like 3 minutes. And then the movie ends. It felt like a waste of Black Manta's character. He's basically just a puppet being manipulated by the even more evil guy. So it was just kind of lame. Alright, so what's left to talk about? Oh, the music. Well, it kinda sucked. I don't really have much else to add. I mean, the licensed songs were pretty cool, but the rest of the music just wasn't memorable. Again, in the first one, I thought the soundtrack was pretty solid, with Manta's theme being pretty badass, but not this time around. Okay, after sitting on it for just a little bit longer, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but it's still not that good. But I do think it's still far from the worst DCEU movie. Honestly, it's kind of like Shazam 2. It's not a terrible movie, it's watchable and some people might enjoy it, but as a follow-up to a much better movie, it's just super disappointing. And for me personally, I was much more let down by this movie than I was for Shazam 2, because it was one of the only DC movies I was looking forward to, because I really liked the first one, and James Gunn is one of my favorite directors. And it sucks that this was just a very underwhelming experience for me. I think this is easily one of James Wan's weakest movies. And when compared to the 3 previous DC movies, I will say that it's better than The Flash, but not by much, but probably not as good as Blue Beetle or Shazam 2. Yeah, so overall, just a very underbaked, underwhelming, lackluster movie. You know what, fuck it, I'm gonna say it. I had more fun watching Black Adam than I did this. Yeah, Black Adam had a lot of flaws, and it was derivative as hell, but man, at least it was fun. I can say that it was entertaining. I can only describe Aquaman 2 as just disappointing. Now, some of you might be wondering why I made this video in the first place, because I've said several times that I'm done with comic book movies and comic book media in general. And it's really just 2 reasons. I'm a huge fan of Aquaman 1 and James Wan, so naturally I was looking forward to the sequel that he was directing. But more importantly is reason number 2. I plan to talk about the DCEU now that it's officially over in just like one final video. I made a community post about it asking you guys to rank them, and Aquaman 2 was the last one I needed to watch. And I already had interest in it anyway because of the prior reasons, so it only made sense. And whenever I do make that DCEU video, that'll more than likely be my final one about comic book stuff for a while. Well, I guess modern comic book stuff, before I move on to other ideas that I want to do. But yeah, I don't really have shit else to say, so that's it. See you.
Affleck was the bomb as Batman, yo.
Come, man.